There is bhakta and there is bhakti. Right? These are the only three useful things to know. What are the three? Bhagavan, bhakta, bhakti. All three are eternal. The bhakta is eternal in the sense of being the eternal spirit soul. So the soul is eternal, Krishna is eternal, and the connection of the soul to Krishna is also eternal. So this is called Sanatan Dharma, eternal Dharma. The eternal relationship of the eternal soul with the eternal Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is one of love. So we as followers of the path of devotion, Bhakti Marga, we very much emphasize the personal aspect of the Absolute Truth and the process of devotional service to Him as the ultimate goal of life. Now there are people who follow the other processes of yoga, like Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, this yoga, that yoga. They may also take help from Bhakti Yoga. They may also worship Krishna, they may also chant Krishna's names. I'll narrate one instance that I was also narrating in Melbourne before I came. One time I was hearing a devotee singing a very beautiful melody of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So I asked him, where did you learn this melody from? It is such a nice melody. So he was hesitant to tell me. I said, no, tell me, it's nice. You tell me. He said, actually I heard it from a Mayavadi sannyasi. He said, what were you doing going to a Mayavadi sannyasi? He said, that is why I didn't want to tell you. But he said, that was before I came to Krishna consciousness. So I said, then it's all right. He said, I used to go to these lectures by this Mayavadi sannyasi who belonged to another organization that preaches impersonalism, Mayavad, Nirvisheshvad. And he was singing this melody. I said, you mean he was singing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in this melody? He said, yes. So you see, even those who follow the impersonal path, those who believe that the impersonal is ultimate, the absolute truth is ultimately impersonal, they also chant Krishna's names. They also do kirtan. They may have a deity of Krishna in their ashrams or in their temples, but their concept of the deity is different from ours. So they make use of Bhakti Yoga, but for their ulterior purpose of merging into God or something like that. But for us, as followers of Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti is not just a means to an end. Bhakti is the means as well as the end. We love Krishna for the sake of loving Krishna. We serve Krishna to serve Krishna better. One time Srila Prabhupada was asked, why do you chant Hare Krishna? And he replied, so that we can chant more Hare Krishna. Because chanting Hare Krishna is the means as well as the end. So now the question may arise that Shankaracharya, as you have declared yourself now, was preaching impersonalist philosophy. So then, first of all, what are we doing discussing this? Why are we discussing the compositions of someone who preached impersonal philosophy? And how is it that he, as a preacher of impersonal Mayavad philosophy, spoke or composed such a beautiful song that has devotion to Krishna in different parts of it, not entirely, but in some parts? So that is the question. So we need to see, first of all, who is Shankaracharya? And also we need to know what is Mayavad philosophy. How many of you have heard the term Mayavad? How many have not heard the term Mayavad? Okay. Sometimes there are many who didn't raise their hand for either option. Some devotees mistakenly think that Mayavad means to be in Maya. One time I met one devotee who was saying, my brother, he's a Mayavadi. So I felt, that he's an impersonalist. What he meant was, he listens to all sorts of karmi music, so he's a Mayavadi. Now that is not the meaning of a Mayavadi. He is in Maya, that's all right. But being in Maya doesn't mean you become a Mayavadi. The word Mayavadi has a very specific connotation. So, in order to understand and distinguish impersonal philosophy from bhakti philosophy, we have to be very clear what bhakti is and what impersonal philosophy is. Clarity is essential. Otherwise, we will not be able to distinguish and we will mix up the two. And when some very charismatic Mayavadi speaker speaks about Krishna a little bit, we will think, well, he's also a devotee, he's also speaking about Krishna. So it's the same thing. Many devotees also think like this. When they hear any person speaking about Krishna, they think it's all one, it's all bhakti. It's not so. We must examine the philosophy. We must examine the philosophical conclusions or statements of that person. Then we will know whether that person is talking about impersonal philosophy or bhakti philosophy. What do we need to hear? Bhakti philosophy. So there is a big difference, so we must know that. Otherwise, many devotees get misled like this, especially in the early stages of devotion. So let me ask you, what is Mayavad? If I were to ask you to point out 2, 3, 4, 5 essential features of Mayavad philosophy. 1, 2, 3, 4, very brief. In one sentence each point. Yes.
It stops at the Brahman realization.
It stops at Brahman realization. Well, that is true. But as a layman, I want to know, in very simple language,
Ultimately,
what does it mean? Can you give certain statements, 1, 2, 3, 4, that say this is the essence of the Mayavad philosophy?
It is Krishna's energy. It is Krishna's energy.
Krishna's energy? No. I'm talking about the Mayavad philosophy. What are the main tenets of that?
Ultimately,
We are
God is
merging the-
formless.
Ultimately, God is formless. Okay, yes, correct. Absolutely right.
After liberation means that they are merging into the God.
Okay, after liberation, we merge into that impersonal God. Very nice.
We can
You are
become
God, I am God, everybody is God.
You are God, I am God, everybody is God. Very fine. Not fine, I'm saying this is correct. Your statement about Mayavad philosophy is correct.
There is no exchange of love between the person and the Supreme.
There is no exchange of love. Okay, it's in a sense true, correct? Yes. Yes.
We lose our identity.
We lose our identity. Okay.
It's not based on scriptures.
It's not based on scriptures. All right.
There is no mood of serving God.
There is no mood of serving God. Correct. Okay. So all of you have given very nice answers. Let me summarize. And at the end of this class, I will randomly ask you to give some points. So please pay attention. And after you go home also, please discuss amongst your family members and friends. What are the 5 points of Mayavad? So you know that. The first point of Mayavad, if you were to summarize the philosophy, is that the absolute truth is ultimately What is Mayavad philosophy? You should be able to do it in very the actual light. There is no form, there is no personality involved there. Okay? Point number 2. That supreme absolute truth descends into this material world as an avatar, taking on a body that is made of Maya or material elements. Which means the bodies of all the avatars are material, like your body and my body. That is why it is called Mayavad. The philosophy that everything is Maya, and even the Lord's body is made of Maya. So what is the second point?
The absolute truth descends onto earth, taking on a body made of material elements.
Correct. When that impersonal absolute truth descends into the world as an avatar, he assumes a body that is made of material elements, like our body. It's a body made of Maya. So that's the second statement. Clear? Third statement. This material world is Maya. It is illusion. It does not exist. Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. The only reality is that impersonal spiritual light. By the way, all of you, please remember that I am only paraphrasing Mayavad philosophy. I am not speaking what we believe. Nowadays, in this cut and paste world, you never know. Somebody cuts up some portion on the YouTube and pastes it. And then you will say, no, we are speaking Mayavad philosophy. Bhakti Rasamrit Swami speaking Mayavad. Something will come up. Huh? So in between I have to make these clarifications so that just to be safe. So the third point is of Mayavad is the material world is false, it is illusion, it does not exist. Only the impersonal spiritual light exists. That is point number 3. Point number 4. The individual living entities, jivas, are actually that Supreme Brahman. That means we are all God. We are all that Supreme, Tattvamasi. We are all that Supreme. But we have forgotten that we are Supreme because we have come under the influence of Maya. And finally, the fifth point, by knowledge, by jnana, we can overcome that ignorance of Maya and understand our identity as a Supreme Brahman, as the absolute, supreme absolute truth. And then we will merge into that supreme light and extinguish our individuality. So individuality is an illusion, according to them. There's only one individual, that's the Supreme Brahman. So what is the fifth point?
By knowledge we can overcome that.
By knowledge we can overcome that Maya and merge into that impersonal light. And what happens? Then no longer any individuality remains. Now there's many other aspects of Mayavad. Actually, Vad means philosophy. So philosophy of Maya. A philosophy where it says everything is illusion, except that Brahman. So this is Mayavad. So these are the basic tenets, and all the other aspects of Mayavad will stem in some way or the other from these 5 points. Correct? So now can we have the 5 points in sequence? Someone please come up with the first point. Each time a different devotee should speak. The first point. Who would like to say? Yes, only the first point.
Absolute truth ultimately is impersonal.
Okay, the absolute truth ultimately is impersonal. As
It's some sort of spiritual life.
yes, it is spiritual light. It has no form, no personality. Very good. So that is the first point. Second point. Yes.
Absolute person, when descend on the earth, his body is material.
Absolute person.
Absolute truth,
Truth.
descend on the earth, his body is made out of material elements.
When that impersonal absolute truth descends into this material world as an avatar, then his body is also made of Maya or material elements, just like our bodies. Now, that's the second point. Third point, somebody? Yes.
Brahman Satya Jagat Mithya. So basically material world is not, it's not, there's no truth in it. It's
Yes.
false.
So the third point is that the material world is illusion. It is false. It does not exist. There's only one reality, which is that impersonal spiritual Brahma, Brahma Jyoti. That's point number 3. Point number 4. Yes.
Individual living entity is actually supreme. Tatvamasi.
The individual living entity is actually Supreme Brahman, is actually the Supreme, is God. But what?
We have forgotten.
But the entity has forgotten that he is God because of the influence of Maya or illusion. And actually speaking, there is no individuality. That is their point. And finally, the 5th point. Yes.
Once we die, we will go to, we will become one.
Once we die, anyone who dies? Only when we get knowledge. When we get perfect knowledge, spiritual knowledge, then we will be able to overcome ignorance, and then we will be released from this illusion, and we will merge back into the impersonal light, extinguish our individuality. We will realize ourselves as the supreme absolute truth. So these are the main points of the Mayavad philosophy, or the impersonal philosophy. Yes? Mayavad philosophy. So now the question is, Shankaracharya was known as a very strong proponent of this Mayavad philosophy. In fact, he is very famous for his revival of Vedic beliefs, the Vedanta especially. His commentary on the Vedanta, do you know what it is called?
Shankara Bhashya.
Shankara Bhashya, Shariraka Bhashya. That is the actual name of it. So he was a fascinating personality. He lived for only 32 years. But in those 32 years, he basically caused such a revival of the traditions of Vedanta and Vedic philosophy, the Vedas in short, that it transformed practically the whole country. You see, at that time, Buddhism and Jainism were holding sway in large parts of India. And they had spread even in South India and all parts of India. And essentially, you see, while we respect all the religions, and we should, philosophically it is essential to know what each doctrine stands for. You see, as devotees, we must become a little philosophical also. So, Buddhism is essentially, along with Jainism, an atheistic religion. They don't believe in God. So Buddhism not only doesn't believe in God, it doesn't believe in the Vedas, it doesn't even believe in the existence of the Atma or the soul. So therefore, because of the advent of Buddhism, there was large-scale disbelief in the Vedas and the Vedic culture. Of course, Buddhism also came because the Lord appeared as Buddha, because the Vedic scriptures were being misused. And the Brahmanas were also encouraging others to perform sacrifices, so for slaughter of animals, which was very ghastly, very wrong thing to do. And so this was not really nice. So the Lord incarnated as Buddha to stop all this wanton, unwanted, illegal slaughter of animals. So Buddha came with a purpose. So even though he decried the Vedas, he said, I don't accept the Vedas. But there was a purpose to stop the misuse of the Vedas and to stop animal slaughter. But now that Buddha had been around, his philosophy had been around for a long time. When did Buddha come? Do you remember your school history? How many years ago?
2,500.
Huh?
2,600.
Yes. Roughly which year?
350
600.
BC.
Something like
Before
350 BC, something around that time. So that's more than 2,300 years ago. So since then, almost in 1,000 years, Buddhism spread in other parts of Asia as well, but in India also very strongly. So the Vedas, the authority of the Vedas was not there anymore. So then there was a big crisis, because in the land of the Vedas, if the Vedas are not going to be accepted anymore, then that would be terrible. In this situation, the Supreme Lord, he called Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, as you know, is a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. So he called Lord Shiva and he gave him an instruction. And that is said in the Padma Purana. Svagamai kalpitais tvamcha janan mad vimukhan kuru mamcha gopaya yena syat srishtir eshottarottara. He said, my dear Lord Shiva, I have a mission for you. I want you to go into this material world and spread a certain philosophy which is an imagined philosophy. Kalpitai means imagination. So agame means your own imagined thesis. Spread your own imaginative philosophy. Janan mad vimukhan kuru, by which people, Janan, will become opposed to me. Mad vimukhan, will turn their face away from me. Vimukha means turning your face away. So, spread an imaginative false philosophy, my dear Lord Shiva, in this world, because of which people will turn their face away from me. Mamcha gopaya, and make sure that I, the Supreme Person, am covered over. Yena syad, because and by virtue of that, Srishtir Esha Uttara Uttara, people will become more and more materialistic, because you see, ultimately Kali Yuga also had to come. And also the Supreme Lord had to establish the authority of the Vedas. So in this way, Lord Shiva got the instruction to appear within this world, on the earth planet. And he spread an imaginary philosophy. And then in the Padma Purana also we see Lord Shiva speaking to his wife. Who is his wife? Parvati or Durga. He says, Maya vadam asat shastram prachannam bodhamuchyate mayeva vihitam devi kalo brahmana murtina. He says, my dear Devi, speaking to his wife Durga, he said, Kalo brahmana murtina. In Kali Yuga, I will come in the form of a Brahmana. And what will I do? Mayavadi asat shastram. I will preach Mayavad. And it is asat shastra. Shastra means knowledge and asat means false. So I will appear in the form of a Brahmana in Kali Yuga and I will spread this false Mayavad philosophy. And what is this false Mayavad philosophy? Prachannam Bauddham. Bauddham means Buddhist philosophy. Prachannam means covered, which will actually be covered Buddhist philosophy. Now Buddhism is atheism. And Mayavad, which is covered Buddhism, is covered atheism. Yes? Any philosophy that denies the personality of God, the form of God, is considered like an atheistic philosophy. So this is Lord Shiva's mission, not a very pleasant mission, because Lord Shiva himself is a great devotee of Krishna, isn't it? Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, you all know that. He is a great Vaishnava. In fact, one of the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas comes from Lord Shiva. It's called the Rudra Sampradaya. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear his glories so many times. And he sings the Rudra Geet, to the Prachetas and gives them instruction on how to surrender and obtain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even in Vrindavan, Lord Shiva plays such an important role. So Lord Shiva as a great Vaishnava is something we as devotees need to be very clear about. He is an exalted Vaishnava. But nevertheless, because he is such a loyal, faithful servant of the Supreme Lord, so he executes the order of the Lord no matter how unpleasant it may be. That is a sign of a true servant, a true devotee. A devotee who is not very surrendered will like to do only those aspects of devotional service which are pleasing, not those which are difficult to do, which are unpleasant. So Lord Shiva is such a great devotee that he takes on the most unpleasant tasks. He is also called Bhutanath, isn't it? The word Bhuta has two meanings. One is it means ghosts, that you know. So he is the lord of the ghosts, the hobgoblins, and all such very eerie entities whom nobody wants near. So everyone says, I don't want to have anything to do with these ghostly beings. So who will deliver them? So Krishna is very kind. He's thinking about even the most sinful, fallen entities in the world. So he tells Lord Shiva, okay, who else can I say but to you, Shiva? Because you are all auspicious. You please go and deliver these ghosts, bhutas, pretas, pishachas and all that. That's why Shiva, as he lives in the crematorium, he smears crematorium ash on his body, and he's always surrounded by these ghosts and hobgoblins, because he delivers them. Because they will not directly take shelter of Krishna. So Lord Shiva has to play this very important role. So see how great a personality Lord Shiva is. How difficult is the task that he has to perform on behalf of Krishna. So whenever Krishna has a very, very difficult task, Lord Shiva is definitely up there on the list of people to call. Yes, you please do this task. So now he called Lord Shiva and gave him this instruction. You please go and spread this false, imaginary Mayavad philosophy and turn people away from me. And then this set the background for the Bhakti movement to come much later. So then Shankaracharya was born. So Shankara, Lord Shiva is also called Shankar. And he was also appropriately named Shankar. So because there are many Shankaracharyas after him, he is called the Adi Shankaracharya. He was the Acharya. So there's Adi and Acharya. There's a prefix and a suffix. So in these 32 years, he caused a revolution, a spiritual revolution in the whole of India. He was a very precocious child, genius from childhood. Even as a little infant, he could memorize and understand all the Shastra, the Shrutis and the Smritis, and he was expert in logic and everything. Brilliant. And he decided, he understood this world is meaningless. I want to renounce it. I want to become a sannyasi. Now, he was the only child and his father had expired when he was a very young boy. So he had only his mother. And naturally, when he told his mother, he was only 12 years old. He told his mother, Mother, I want to become a sannyasi. What do you think the mother would say?
No.
What would any mother say? No. How can you do that? No. You are my only son. My husband is also not here. You cannot go. Actually, she had a vision before the birth of Shankara that Lord Shiva would be appearing as her firstborn son. So in a sense she had an inkling. But nevertheless she didn't want her son to become a sannyasi. Even Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas, his son Shukadev was in the womb of his wife Jabali for how many days? 16 years. Some places it is said 12 years. Anyway, 12 years, 16 years, long enough. Normally the child is in the womb only for 9 months. And here we have not even 9 months, we have not 9 years, 12 years or 16 years. And Vyasadeva was trying to persuade him, my child, it's not done. This is not the way to do things, you have to come out. You can't just keep living in your mother's stomach like this in your womb. He said, no, there's Maya outside, I don't want to get influenced by Maya. So he said, I'm Vyasadeva, I'm the author of the Shastra, I will be your guru, I can teach so many. He said, no. Finally Vyasadeva had to call Krishna from Dwarka. Only when Krishna came and he assured Shukadev, don't worry, I assure you, you will not fall in Maya by my blessings. Then he was born. And as soon as he was born, anyway, he was 12 to 16 years old enough, so he walked away to become a renunciant monk. And even Vyasadeva, the Shakti-Avesh incarnation of the Lord, the author of the compiler of the Vedas, he also being a householder was attached to his son Maya. Ha putra, oh my son, where are you going? So it's natural, this is the way of attachment to family in this world. So then when he told his mother, she said, no, you can't go. One day, young Shankara was bathing in the river and suddenly he was caught by a crocodile. And his mother was standing nearby. You can imagine her condition. And she tried to free the boy from the clutches of the crocodile, but she was not able to. Naturally, the crocodile was much stronger. And then at that time, young Shankara told her, Mother, there are only 2 choices. One is the crocodile kills me, or second, you give me permission to take sannyas. Then the crocodile will leave me. Now, that's not much of a choice for a mother, right? Which mother wants to see her child dying like this? So no mother likes to see her child as a sannyasi also, at least very few mothers. But at least he's alive. So she said, yes, I give you blessings, you become a sannyasi. And then miraculously the crocodile opened his mouth and went away. And young Shankara was freed from that grip. And then he went on and became a sannyasi. He took Diksha from a certain guru and then he went on. And then he started spreading the message of Vedanta everywhere. He spoke this philosophy, he was very eloquent, he had lots of debates and so on and so forth. Now Srila Prabhupada mentions that even though Shankaracharya's philosophy is Mayavad and we should not hear it, in fact Mahaprabhu has cautioned philosophy, one's bhakti will become destroyed. Then one will start thinking that one is a Supreme Lord. I am God. So what is the need for me to serve God? Everyone should serve me. So the spirit of service is destroyed. Therefore even Hanuman does not want this kind of moksha. That moksha or liberation where the soul merges into the impersonal Brahman. He says, Bhavabandha chidetasya sprihayami namuktaye Bhavan Prabhu aham dasa iti vatyatra vilupyate. Hanuman says, my dear Lord, I do not want this kind of moksha or liberation by which I merge into the impersonal Brahman, merge into you. I don't want that. Why? Because the conception that you are my Lord and I am your servant will be lost. I only want to serve you eternally with devotion. That is my only ambition in life. So this is the spirit of bhakti. This is bhakti philosophy. We want to eternally serve the Supreme Lord. We want to eternally be the Lord's devotee. We want the Lord to be eternally our master. But that kind of mentality is not possible when you take up Mayavad. So Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnava Acharyas have cautioned us against the perils of hearing Mayavad philosophy. Nevertheless, Srila Prabhupada said, even though we defy the Mayavad philosophy, we criticize it and find fault with it, it was not a fault of Shankaracharya. Because Shankaracharya was merely following the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he spoke this philosophy accordingly. But now but Shankaracharya himself has also accepted in different places the supremacy of Lord Narayana or Lord Krishna. For example, Prabhupada says in Shankaracharya's commentary, to both the subtle and the gross material creation. And he goes on to say that Lord Narayan, the Supreme Absolute Truth, has appeared as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. And then Srila Prabhupada says, in his closing pastimes, Shankaracharya revealed his true nature as Govindam prayers. So Prabhupada says, he is a covered personalist. Shankaracharya is a covered devotee. He spoke impersonalism to fulfill the instructions he had received from the Lord, but internally he was a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how could he have composed such a wonderful devotional poem like this, in which he gives very unequivocal instructions that you must worship Govinda? And how these Bhaj Govindam prayers happen to be composed, there's an interesting anecdote about that. You see, Shankaracharya was traveling all over the country. He established 4 mathas, 4 main monasteries. In which places? No, in the 4 corners of the country. Kanchi was his headquarters. Sringeri was his headquarters. But which were the 4 main holy places he established? Rameshwaram in the south, Dwarka in the west, Badrinath in the north, and Jagannath Puri in the east. Because he was thinking also of some kind of Vedic or Hindu revival and integration of the whole country by this one philosophy. So what he did was he sent Brahmins everywhere. So if you go to Badrinath, you will see the main pujari or the Raval is a Namudri Brahmin from Kerala. See? And in Rameshwaram you may find some priests Brahmins from Maharashtra. And in this way there was interchange. So he was very well regarded and respected all over India. Wherever he went, because he had earlier gone on these expeditions where he would debate with scholars and establish his point of view. So he became very well known all over India. So he would also stay in Varanasi, because Varanasi is the kind of a very spiritual place, and there's a lot of scholars reside there and study the Shastras. So one time he was walking with his disciples, and he came across this elderly Brahmin who was loudly and repeatedly reciting the rules of Sanskrit grammar. You know, language like Sanskrit is learned by memorizing the rules. Just like we have grown up learning the tables, no? 2 2s are 2, 2 3s are 6. We memorize it, we repeat it and we memorize it. So Sanskrit grammar, initially there are many rules framed by Panini. So if you memorize those rules, then you understand the correct grammar, how to compose sentences and so on. So this elderly Brahmin was reciting all these different rules and trying to memorize them. And Shankaracharya felt great pity upon this elderly Brahmin. And then he spoke the first verse of the Bhaj Govindam, and then he composed the whole Bhaj Govindam prayers. Bhaj Govindam, Govindam Bhaj Mudhamate, Samprapte Sannihite Kale. He says, O Mudhamate, Mudhamate means, O foolish person, one whose intelligence is dull. Sometimes the devotees speak like this because they feel here is something that is so sublime, Krishna consciousness, that you don't want to accept it. There's someone offering you a diamond and you want to accept broken pieces of glass. Isn't that a very foolish thing to do? So sometimes devotees use strong words like that. Like Prabhupada sometimes used to words like rascal. Of course, we cannot imitate. Yes? When we are telling people about Krishna, you cannot use such words. But exalted acharyas like Prabhupada, they could use, Shankaracharya could use. He says, oh foolish person. He said, you Bhaj Govinda, Govindam Bhaja. You worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. Why? Samprapte, upon attaining, Sannihite Kale, upon attaining or approaching the time of death. Nahi rakshati dukrana karane. All the grammatical rules of Sanskrit are not going to come to your help when you're in your dying moments in life. At that time, only the mercy of Lord Govinda, of Lord Krishna will save you. So become a devotee of Krishna. Worship Govinda. So this is a very, very important point. Because ultimately we have to think of Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, isn't it? Antakale cha mameva smaran bhuktva kalevaram iha prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayaha. He says, my dear Arjuna, anyone who quits his body remembering me will attain to me without fail, without doubt. So one goes back to Krishna's abode, to the spiritual world, and becomes free from the cycle of death by remembering Krishna at the time of death. But it is not possible to remember Krishna at the time of death unless we have practiced remembering Krishna while we are living. Very important point. It's a question of regular practice, daily practice. It is not something that can be done occasionally only on holidays, or there is no concept of a holiday from devotional service. Like from your job, you have the weekends off, you have holiday. So you take holiday from work, but there is no holiday from devotional service. Actually, devotional service is the holy day. Every day is a holy day. And in that sense, every day is a holiday for us. Actually, that is the origin of the word holiday. A holy day. But nowadays, people use their holidays only for unholy activities. Isn't it? So, Shankaracharya has given a very important instruction to us. Forget about all this impersonalism and all this word jugglery of rules and the semantics and trying to break up words and explain things in different ways. Just worship Govinda. Just become his devotee. Everything will happen. Everything desirable will happen. At the time of death, Krishna will come and rescue you and take you back. In the Bhagavad Gita, in so many places, Krishna gives that assurance. Can you cite any such verses from the Bhagavad Gita? Manmana, yes, the full verse, please. Who said? Yes, please say the full verse. Yes, what is the translation?
Worship me, become my devotee, and
offer obeisances to me.
and you will all definitely come to me.
Then you will definitely come back to me. Yes? Also in the 12th chapter, Krishna says in a very beautiful verse, Tesham Nachirat Partha Mayaveshit Chetasam. He says, for those who are constantly engaged in hearing and chanting about me, in serving me, in worshipping me with love and devotion, I become, Bhavami, I become. What do I become? Samuddharta, Uddharaka, one who delivers, the complete deliverer of the devotee. Tesham aham samuddharta, I become the deliverer. Aham bhavami. Tesham aham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagarat. From this sagar, of this ocean of death, I will rescue my devotee who is constantly absorbed in thoughts of me. Have you seen that famous picture in Prabhupada's books where there is a man who is drowning in the ocean and his hands are raised and Krishna is coming on the back of Garuda and he is reaching and lending out his hand and taking that devotee up with him? Have you seen that picture? Do we have a copy of Bhagavad Gita here anywhere? Some of it may be there and you may see that. Later we will try to see. Do you have Bhagavad Gita copy? Okay. So this is the beauty of Krishna's promise. Yeah, anyway, so this was the first verse. So I'll just talk briefly about a few other verses. Another verse that is there from the Bhaj Govindam prayers is an interesting verse. Balastavat kridasaktah, tarunastavat tarunisaktah, vriddhastavat chintasaktah, pare brahmani kopi nasaktah. We'll see if there's this picture. It's a very nice picture. Yes, not here. Never mind. But you know that picture that I'm referring to. Very beautiful picture. So in any case, coming to the next verse of the Bhaj Govindam, he says, Balyastavat kridasaktah. In childhood, one is attached to krida, as we can see outside. The children, they are attached to playing. Then, after childhood, one attains to youth and middle age. Tarunastavat tarunisaktah. So the attraction between the male and the female, that the person is preoccupied with in the teenage and middle age. So that stage of life passes away like that. Vriddhastavat chintasaktah. When one attains old age, then one becomes attached to worrying. This is the nature. So childhood Pare Brahmani Kopi na sakta. So at which stage of life will one take shelter of the Supreme Lord? We are Brahman, but we are not Para Brahman. We are Brahman in the sense we are spirit soul, but we are not Supreme Spirit Soul. This is the important point. We are Brahma, but we are not Para Brahma, not the Supreme Brahman. But here he uses the word Pare Brahmani, Supreme Brahman. That is Krishna. So where is the time or the opportunity for people to take shelter of the Supreme Lord? Because childhood, youth, middle age, old age passes away like this. So one must take shelter of the Supreme Lord now, right away. Another verse that I've chosen is, yes, that's also a nice one, philosophical. Kate kanta kaste putraha sansaro yam ativa vichitraha kasya tvam kah kuta ayataha tattvam chintaya tadiha bhrataha. Oh my brother, please think about the truths of what I am about to say. who says, Kate kaste, he said, who is your Kate Kanta? Who is your wife? Kaste putraha, who is your son? Sansaro yam ativa. Kasyatvam. Kutah ayat. Chintaya tadiha. Please. So our relationships in this world, based on the bodily platform, are ultimately only temporary. We need to take recourse to the eternal principles of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says that the philosophy that Shankaracharya preached was something that was a temporary necessity at that time, but it did not have perpetual relevance. It is not something we have to accept all the time. It is not of eternal relevance. What is of eternal relevance is Krishna consciousness. So that is our only meaningful relationship, our relationship with Krishna, and then everything connected with Krishna. Otherwise, we have had so many husbands and wives and fathers and mothers and children and brothers and sisters and friends and enemies all throughout our lives. In so many previous lives, we've had these relationships, but we don't remember them. The relationships become meaningful when we connect them to Krishna. And then another verse that I selected, also an interesting one. Angam galitam palitam mundam dashanavihinam jatam tundam vriddho yati grihitva dandam tadapina munchatya shapindam. Anyone knows the meaning of this? Angam galitam. The body has become weak. Palitam mundam. The hair has become white or it has fallen off from the head. Dashana vihinam jatam tundam. The teeth have fallen out from the mouth. There are no teeth left anymore. When do all these things happen? Old age. Vriddho yati. There goes the old man. Grihitva dandam. Carrying a danda stick. Bent over. Tadapina munchatya shapindam. So, still, he is not able to give up. Na munchati. What is he not able to give up? Asha pindam. That bundle of desires that rests in his mind. So, it's not that when we become old, automatically we'll become free of all material desires and we will become naturally devotees of the Lord. It doesn't work out like that. Unless we train ourselves from childhood. And that is the importance of giving the children proper sanskars of bhakti at home. So all of you who are grihasthas, who are parents, should keep note of this. That you have to give the sanskars right from the beginning and create a devotional atmosphere in the home. In India, it is a very popular misconception that we should not take to spiritual life seriously when we are young. We should do it when we become old. But then when we become old, if you haven't done Krishna consciousness before, you will not be able to take to it. Because in your mind, the Asha Pindam will still be strong, bundle of desires. That's why we see in politics, you're young when you're 60. Then your real business starts. Then you become some minister or this or that. And Prabhupada says in one lecture, that in politics they refuse to vacate their chairs till they are shot with a gun. They are so attached to their positions because they are a bundle of desires. They don't want to leave. So therefore we must begin early. Just aging by itself will not automatically give us spirituality. Another verse, yes, nice one. Bhagavad Gita kinchida dhita Ganga jalava kanika pita Sakrit api yena murari samarcha kriyate tasya yamena na charcha. The ordinary person is afraid of having arguments with Yamaraj and confrontations with Yamaraj. No? Who is Yamaraj? The Lord of Death. When a materialistic person is about to die, then Yamaraj sends his messengers called Yamadutas. And many times the person mostly refuses to leave. He said, no, I don't want to go. And then the Yamadutas come with their pasha, with their ropes, and they put it around the subtle body and the soul, and they drag away the soul to the next destination. Actually, they take him to the court of Yamaraj, where the judgment is pronounced. Okay, these are the sins you have done, these are the pious activities, and therefore your next life shall be so and so. So usually there is a lot of protest from the jiva who sees Yamadutas. No, not me, it's not time for me. Don't come yet. I still have many plans to fulfill. It's a wrong number. Maybe you meant to go to my neighbor's house. Please go there. He's not a good person. You take him away, but I'm a good person. I have to be still around in this world. But no argument works. When Yamaraj comes, the confrontation will happen. You will have to go. He will win. So if you don't want this confrontation at all, if you don't want Yamaraj and the Yamadutas to come at all, what should you do? Shankaracharya is saying three things. Bhagavad Gita, kinchidadhita. Even if you worship or study Bhagavad Gita a little bit. Number one, Ganga Jala Lava Kanika Pita. You drink even a little bit of Ganga Jal, pure water. And third, Sakrat Api, even once. Murari Samarcha, if you worship Murari or Krishna, then Yamaraj will never come before you. Neither will he send the Yamadutas to come. Of course, we should not be satisfied with just Yamaraj not coming before us. Because even by doing a little bit of devotional service, that is assured. But what we are striving for is pure devotional service. And we want Krishna's messengers to come to take us back to Goloka Vrindavan. That is our goal and destination. So we have to do all these three things and more in a very devotional spirit. Another verse, second last verse. This you may have heard. Punarapi jananam, punarapi mananam, punarapi janane jatare shayanam. Iha samsare bahu dustare, kripaya pare, pahi murare. So what is Shankaracharya praying? He says, Punarapi jananam, again to take birth. Punarapi maranam, again to die. Punarapi janani jatare shayanam, again to go and live for 9 months in a mother's womb. Iha samsare bahu dustare. This sansar is very difficult, this material world. Kripaya pare, please deliver me and save me, O Murari, O Krishna. So you see, time and again Shankaracharya in these prayers makes a reference to how we should take shelter of Krishna and make our life perfect. Otherwise, this material world is a place of misery and pain. Birth, death, old age and disease, as Krishna says in the Gita, are the 4 root miseries. Janma, Vritti, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. So therefore, understanding this, we should take shelter of Krishna. And the last verse from Bhaj Govindam prayers, which I want to say is, Bhaj Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Nama Sankirtanad Anya Upayam, Nahi Pashyamo Bhavatarne. So, O foolish person, worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. Nama Sankirtanad. apart from Nama Sankirtan, the chanting of the names of Krishna, upaya, any other method, nahi pashyamaha, I do not see any other way apart from the chanting of the names of Lord Krishna for Bhavatarani to cross over this ocean of material existence. This material world is called Bhava. Bhavasagar, Bhavasindhu, Bhavabdhim. Bhava means to become old, to become diseased, to become born, to become dead. You become all of these things, it's called Bhava. You become again and again and again. Tarana, if you want to cross over it, then there is no other way apart from the chanting of the names of Krishna. Very beautiful. So now we can understand why Prabhupada says Shankaracharya is a covered devotee, a covered personalist. So we should also, with all our heart, follow this instruction of Bhaj Govindam. We should worship Govinda or Krishna with all our heart, especially by chanting Krishna's names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you. You've got that picture of Krishna coming on Garuda and rescuing the devotee. The ocean represents the ocean of material existence. And the person there is the devotee who is taking shelter of Krishna. And Krishna is coming on the back of Garuda. And then he rescues that devotee. So do you all want to be rescued like this? Yes. Then what do you have to do? Bhaj Govindam, Bhaj Govindam, Bhaj Govindam, Bhaja. No, I will not sing it. You all need to worship Govinda. You're all Bhakti Mate, so I will say Bhaj Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Bhakti Mate. Yes, you who are Bhakti Mati. Those of you who want to see this picture, you can see it later. So Bhakti Mati is what we want. Mati means intelligence or consciousness. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to give his blessings. Krishna Matirastu. May your intelligence be always in Krishna. May you always be Krishna conscious. That is a perfect blessing. Not Chiranjeevi Bhava. May you live a long life. Fine. Shankaracharya lived only 32 years. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only 48 years. But see how much they accomplished. And Srila Prabhupada lived to a ripe old age of 81. But what he accomplished in his last few years, unparalleled. So it is our duty now to carry forward this legacy, this great heritage of Bhakti. So thank you very much, Umesh and Suman, for hosting us this morning. And thank you to all of you for having come this morning for this program. And I hope and pray that the devotee community in Sydney will grow from strength to strength, and everybody will become very strong in their bhakti, and will also that the number of devotees will also increase, and more people will come to Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. What is the time now?
12:30.
12:30. So what is the program? Shall we have some kirtan now?
Yes.
We have kirtan. I forgot something. What did I forget?
Questions.
No, questions. The 5 points of Mayavad philosophy. Okay, please raise your hand one by one, and 1 point each. First point of Mayavad, yes.
The Supreme Personality of the Supreme Truth is impersonal.
The Supreme Truth is ultimately impersonal. Okay, second? Yes.
The impersonal form comes as avatar, takes a material body to preach.
Yes. So when that impersonal absolute truth descends into this world as an avatar, he comes with a material body. Third?
God and you are one and the same. Living entities and the Supreme Personality of God.
Yes, that was number 4. Number 3?
The world is illusion.
The world is illusion. And what is reality? Brahma, that impersonal Brahman is the only reality. This material world is illusion. And point number 4, yes, can you repeat that?
You and the living entity and the Supreme Personality of the Godhead is one and the same. But he is the body.
Yes, of course, they don't call him as Supreme Personality, they say Supreme Brahman. Brahman, the Supreme Absolute Truth. They say the Jiva is the same as the Supreme Brahman. There's no difference. And it is because of Maya and ignorance that the Jiva doesn't understand that he or she is Brahman, Supreme Brahman. And finally, number 5.
When knowledge can conquer Maya.
Yes?
Through knowledge, the illusion would be taken away and you will realize the impersonal aspect and you will be one with the impersonal Brahman. And you realize that you are the Supreme Brahman as well.
Okay, very good. So through knowledge, the ignorance is destroyed and one realizes oneself as Supreme Brahman and one merges into the Supreme Brahman and there is no such thing as individuality. Now, very briefly, what is the Bhakti philosophy with respect to these 5 points? The first point, that the Supreme Absolute Truth is impersonal. What is the Bhakti philosophy? That he is ultimately a person, a Supreme Person, but he has an impersonal aspect, which is the effulgence from his body. But the original aspect of the Lord is as a person, Krishna, Bhagavan. The second point, they say when the Brahman descends into the material world, he accepts a body made of material elements. What do we say in the Bhakti philosophy? Krishna's body is always transcendental. He is Satchidananda Vigraha. His body is always eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Even when he descends into this material world, his body is always spiritual, never material. The third point,